Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Well, no one wants to talk about the Bears today. I'm sure of it. You know what? If anybody even watches this show, I thank you because after these last two games, whoo, it's been tough to watch, hasn't it? I mean, if you're a true Bears fan, you're in for it forever. But wow, it was tough to watch that game. And we're going to go over some stats. We're not going to beat the dead horse with it. But I don't even know what to say. I even found myself during that game in the fourth quarter changing the channel to other games. I kept going back and forth, but I don't ever do that except for commercials. And when this Bears fan does that, it's just not a good sign. So let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit of it, and we'll talk about how they lost that game. We all know it. I don't have to tell you. Defense, and defense. And it starts with the defensive line, and I've been saying that for the better half of the second half of the year. So let's do my top threes. Penalties, time of possession, and turnovers. If you can win those battles, you have a good chance to be in the game or win it. The Bears only had 3 penalties, but one of the penalties was very costly. It was in the first quarter. The Bears had finally stopped Detroit. It was 4th and 4, and it was back on the 30-something yard line, 40 yard line, and then so it's 3rd and 4. They're going for it because it was just a little too far for a field goal, and they knew they were playing the Bears, so they went for it, and we stopped them. But then what happens? Out comes the flag. Defensive pass interference. They have the ball on the first yard line, and bang, boo, 2 plays later, touchdown. So that's why penalties are huge. Had we stopped them, you don't know what kind of momentum that would bring, but probably not much. There would have just been one less touchdown. But it's important. So we had 3. We had 3 penalties accepted for 49 yards, and they had 6 for 42 yards. But they beat us in all the other categories. Time of possession, Bears only had the ball 24 minutes, and Detroit had it 35 minutes. And that was quite obvious. The Bears had 2 turnovers, and Detroit did not turn over the ball at all. So, and I got to tell you, I talked about this before, and I know Justin was hit pretty hard when he fumbled that ball, but he's got to be more aware of what's going on around him, and that's why he needs to play games. He's got to feel those people coming, and he's got to tuck that ball more. And it was a problem for him at the beginning of the season. He cleaned it up, but not yesterday. Even when he ran that really, really long run, he was running with the ball out. And I thought, you got to pull that in. You have got to pull that in. Even when Clement had that one catch where he caught it out with his fingertips, and then they called it incomplete pass where it hit the ground. He just needed to bring that into his body more, and it would have been a completion. So, got to work on that a little bit, but. And this is where it's going to get just downright depressing. The Bears' total yards on offense, 230. That's all. And it gets worse. Detroit had 504 yards total offense. We had 200 yards rushing, and a lot of that attributed to Justin. And they had 265 yards rushing. The Bears' defense couldn't stop them for shit. And this is what's really shocking. I couldn't believe it. I had to check several websites, but then when I added things up, okay, it made sense. He only threw for 30 yards. There was because there was drop passes, overthrows. It was just bad. They had 239 yards in the year passing. Fields was sacked for 7 times, which puts him in the overall lead. He passed Wilson, and he now has 55 sacks. So he's the leader right now. Woo! That's a field you do not want to be leading in, okay? Fields did rush for 118 yards. And his longest run was that 60-yard run. And that was the longest he's had this year. But after that run, he didn't seem to be himself. And then he got hit pretty bad after that, a couple plays later. And he just seemed like I wouldn't have had him. They didn't have him running much more. And Fields needs 64 yards to pass Lamar Jackson to put him in the number one in overall rushing for a quarterback in a season. So after seeing Minnesota play yesterday, they looked terrible playing Green Bay, which sucked because Green Bay won. So I don't know if he's going to be able to pass him. It would be nice to see him pass him just because we like to have some bright spot coming out of this year, because that would be it. I'm telling you, people. David Montgomery had... What did I put down? I don't know what he had. He had 30-something yards. Okay, I mistyped this, so I'm not really sure how David Montgomery had. I was a little pickled yesterday. Well, we had 200 yards, so I think he had 30-something yards. I think he had 31 yards. Humphrey came in 20 yards rushing, and Jones had 13 yards rushing. The thing that really, the Bears came out and they went right down the field and scored a touchdown. And I thought, wow, okay, cool. It was very impressive. And then the next possession of the Bears, Jenkins goes out again. This guy has been hurt so much. We've had a problem with him since we've drafted him. So I just don't know where he's going to stand with being the Bears next year. When he plays and he's healthy, he's been really getting better and better, but he can't stay healthy. And then Schofield went out not too many plays later, both in the first quarter. And after that, everything looked bad. Fields didn't have a chance. Obviously, 7 sacks. They were all over him. And then they just shut down. We had 200 yards rushing, but 118 was Justin. Okay, so we still had good rushing, but we couldn't pass for shit. Obviously, 30 yards passing is that's like Pee Wee 101. That's like the first level of Pee Wee. I think they can pass 30 yards passing. That's all I'm saying. The defense looked terrible again. So bad. And again, as I told you last Monday after the Bills game, that our linebackers and our backfield guys had the most tackles in that game. Same with this week's game. The leading tacklers were linebackers Thomas, linebackers Monroe, and backfield guys Brisker, Gordon, and Houston Carson. The defensive line, who are your first attack, it's your first line of defense, and they suck. They had 2 to 3 tackles each. It's terrible. That just tells you right there where our big problem is on defense. If your defensive line can't do their job, they can't get near the quarterback, they can't stop at least try to slow down the running backs, and your linebackers and your defensive backfield are doing all the work. Not a good sign. Some of these guys have flashes on the defensive line, but not enough. So I don't know if it's talent. I think it's talent. And I don't know if it's the defensive coordinator. You certainly don't want to fire him after 1 year, but they might. But they might not, because they might say, listen, The talent just wasn't there. A couple of these guys, I saw Blackwell, number 90. He seemed to be the only one from the defensive line hustling. There was a play, and I don't know if it was a third or fourth quarter. It was the second half of the game, and there was I'm not really sure if it was a run or a pass. I just remember the guy getting through a lot of missed tackles. That was the other thing. So many missed tackles I saw yesterday. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. Had they stopped them when they should have, things could have been different. But I saw Blackwell chasing this guy down the field. He went down about 25 yards, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm sure the other defensive line were probably taking a smoke break while that play was going on. Cripe, they are just terrible. And no team can survive without having a decent, good, or great defensive line, and we have none of those. We're not even decent. We are just plain bad. I mean, there was another time where the defense, that when we came out in the second half, and Detroit had the ball for the kickoff in the second half, the Bears actually got them. It looked like they were going to go 3 and out. They had them on 3 and 18 because they got a penalty and they pushed them back. And I think they might have sacked Goff once too there. And then what do? They give them a first down. They give up a big play. When that happened, I said to myself, it's over. You know what? They had a chance. And when you're giving up on third down, 18 yards, give me a fucking break, okay? And then, you know what, to me, they just look defeated out there again. They look lethargic in the Bills game, and they look defeated as shit in this game yesterday. And, but after that 3 and 18, it just seemed like, man, we're done. Put a pin in us. And as I was saying, but there were so many missed tackles by our defense. And I'm sure if you watch the game, and I give you a best Bears fan ever if you sat through that game, and I get that award. But honestly, and I saw a lot of people writing, it's just tough to watch. It is. It really is. Because, more than anything, of course we want to win, but you don't want to look bad. That was the thing about all the games this season is we didn't win them. Obviously, we've only won 3, and it's probably going to be only 3. And we're probably going to be 3 and 14. But these last 2 games were just terrible. The Bears I don't know what happened. And, before that I was saying, man, I give Coach Flus a lot of credit for keeping these guys' heads up and in the games. It has to be very defeating to win 3 games. And some of them, we all know in the middle of the season, should have been won. Like the last Detroit game we won. We were a lot better in that game. That score was 30-31. And the Bears should have won that game. There was a lot of shouldas, at least 4 that I know of that the Bears could have won. So it has to be defeating, and it's starting to show. So, you know what? He's got 1 game left. Of course, if Minnesota plays like they did yesterday, the Bears definitely have a chance. But I find it hard to believe that Minnesota's going to do that because they're winning. They won the division, but they're fighting for home field advantage. So they need to win the game. Now, maybe they won't play their starters next week and might just say, we won the division, we're going to go from there. But I don't know if a coach, I wouldn't let them, the starters finish the season Minnesota had yesterday. You got to play your starters next week going into the playoffs. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get a full-strength Minnesota team. But when yesterday Minnesota had the same problems on offensive line that the Bears did, early on they lost 3 offensive linemen, and boy, you could tell the change. I don't know how many times Cousins was sacked, but his uniform was damn dirty, and that usually tells you, right? So maybe we have a chance, but I'm pretty sure Minnesota's going to come in fighting, but I'm not even sure why I'm talking about the Minnesota game. This show is not going to be super long because nobody really wants to hear me talk about the Bears. I mean, the few people that watch this show, God bless you. I love you. I don't know. I think you're probably more of a fan of mine that you are the Bears right now. So I'm probably going to have a record low watchers. But you know what? As I always say for the last 3 years, I do this show if hardly anybody watched. It would be a little defeating, but I would do the show because I do like doing it. One thing I am going to say about yesterday's game that really got me, got a hair in my butt. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was pissed when I heard this guy say it. And it was the second half. They were terrible announcers yesterday. And they were getting all giddy about Detroit and this and that. I get it. The Bears sucked. But you know what? Good TV announcers try to find the good in it. Like John Stone. I can't think of his first name, but he's great. I really like that guy. I mean, even Troy Aikman and those kind of people, they try to, when a team's being beat up, they try to find some good in it. The announcer yesterday calling not the play-by-play guy, but the color guy, Jonathan Vilma. It's Vilma. I want you to know that name. He said this several times, and I thought, you fucker. He said, playing the Bears is like playing a scout team. And he said it several times. Listen, asshole, you don't kick a team when they're already down. How fucking unprofessional was that? You're such a jerk. You know what? And I'm going to tell you something, Vilma. You know what? You can't be, obviously you're not that good of an announcer because look what game you were calling, the Detroit Bears game. You are low man on the totem pole, my friend. If you don't work on your professionalism, you are going to be always doing the shitty teams. And that means you're not doing the Bears games next year because they're not going to be shitty. So you know what, Velma? F you. You know what? You need to learn how to do a game. That was so uncalled for. God, it pissed me off. When I heard that, boy, I was just like, who is this? Well, I put a post on Facebook, and I had the wrong guy because they said it was another guy doing the game, but then I read, and it said this guy. So, you know what? It was bad enough we had to see that game, but you have to go and embarrass the Chicago Bears by saying it's a scout team. You know what? How would you have liked that if you were playing? And I'm sure you had some stinker games in your career, and you weren't a stellar guy. You were average. How would you have liked that if somebody called your team that when you were already as down as you can be? Yeah, happy fucking New Year, Velma, or whatever the fuck your name is. All right. I'm done bitching about that. I had to. See what the season has brought me? So this is going to be a short show, people, because you know what? No one really wants to hear it. There's nothing good to say. There's a couple. I will say a person, Montgomery, really stuck out to me yesterday, and Clement too. They both had done some good running and catching, and they were blocking. I saw when Justin Fields was doing one of his runs, Montgomery went in there and did an awesome block, because if he hadn't done that, Fields wouldn't have gone much farther. He wouldn't have gotten that 60-yard run. So that I'm a big fan of Montgomery, and I really, really want the Bears to sign him in the offseason. But we'll see how that goes. That's another show, right? But there really wasn't any bright spots in this game at all. So, you know what, people? All I could say is we've just got to hang in there. The season's almost over. We all couldn't wait for it, and none of us thought it was going to be this bad. Most people, I think, realistic, were thinking maybe, 8 and 9, maybe. 8 and 9, or 7 and 10, maybe. But I didn't think it was going to be 3 and 14. Did not see that coming. I don't think anybody did. So they need a lot of work done in the off season, as we all know. And again, another show. So, You know what? If you watch that game, God bless you. Wasn't a good start to the year 2023, but that don't mean anything. Because once this season's over next Sunday, Fat Lady sings, ah, we'll just put this one behind us, right? Because it's the 2022 season that we watched. Next season will be 2023. And people, I just know it. I know it here. It's gonna be a good one. And actually, it can't get any worse, right? Right. Yesterday, I even tried changing clothes. I put the hat on, I put a different shirt on. Nothing happened. I mean, do I really think that would have made a difference? But that's how desperate I was for that game to turn around. All right. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, and I hope everybody, the few people watching me today, have a great 2023. I appreciate you watching me, especially these last couple weeks. There hasn't been many of you, but the ones that do, you're loyal. You're loyal like you are to the Bears, and I'm loyal to you because I didn't want to do this show today, but the show must go on. All right, and I don't think you're going to get to hear me sing another victory song this year. Pretty sure that isn't happening. Probably a good thing because I can't carry a tune. So, on that note, I hope you all have a great 2023. I hope you had a good holiday season. Be kind to one another. Love thy neighbor. Let's help people out. Smile to people. Let's stop hate and just come together. Because we have another year, and God knows what in this United States we're going to face this year. It has been tough the last few years. We know that. Last 3 years has been awful. And then, we had the fuck up the holiday season of Southwest, and which left this announcer stuck at home instead of with her family. I was going after the holiday. I was flying out a few days after Christmas to see some of my family in Tennessee at my sister's house. Some other family members were coming. Nope. Didn't get it. I was sick on Thanksgiving. I mean, this holiday season just really sucked for me. And you know what? People have a lot worse. So, you know what? I got to stop feeling sorry for myself. And you know what? Move on, right? So, I love y'all. Really appreciate your dedication to turning my show on. I haven't had a lot of funnies to tell you today, although that rant about the TV announcer was pretty good. Fuck him. I wish I could start a campaign, but I'm not really. I mean, the only thing I put on Twitter is the show tag. Maybe some people would watch, and then I put something on Facebook, but that never goes very far. But wouldn't it be great to start some kind of a campaign to be fucking fire that guy? So unprofessional. And here I go again. Okay, Lynn, did you hear me? No more. Okay, I'm sorry. That's the other Lynn I talked to. Her and I are really close. We're like this. Okay, on that note, I love you. Be kind. And go Bears, man. I mean, that's all I can say is go Bears. And on that note, I'll see you Friday before the last game of the season for the Bears. And then the playoffs start. And I love playoffs. Love it more if our team would be in it, but I still love them. And on that note, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. Pretty sure this is the shortest show I've ever done.